In the 1930s and 40s, an army of writers pounded out millions of words for the pulp fiction industry, churning out adventure, mystery, superhero, western, and hard-boiled stories, earning the hack name penny-a-worders. What if the troubled print industry that we're struggling with today is sending us fledgling writers back to the penny-a-worder lifestyle? I'm serious. I'm scared that in 10 years from now, frenzied writers will be publishing millions of disposable blog posts starving for pennies a word. Welcome to the special video edition of my deceptively simple interview feature, 5 Easy Questions. This week, novelist Paul Melmont stops by as part of the world's first podcast junket, visiting all the webby book sites he could find. We're exploring his new novel, A Chinatown Death Cloud Peril, a book that sends famous pulp fiction authors crashing through fantastic adventures. The whole conversation took place at Rocket Ship Comics, Brooklyn's loving home for superheroes. I asked novelist Paul Melmont about blogs and pulp fiction, and he had a theory of his own.
Well, I always felt that there was a real correlation between the pulp writing scene and the internet. They were both like big machines. The .com industry at its highest and the pulp industry at its highest. Just they needed so much turnover, so much material, and they just roped everybody in. Anybody who could write, anybody who could, the corollaries, anybody who could use Photoshop was making money. Not a lot comparatively, but. They were very much the mass medium of the time. In the pulps themselves, with the letters to the editors columns, the fans had flame wars and discussions, and they carried on these long-raging disputes that lasted for years, sometimes the same way, the forums break out in flame wars here, with people calling each other names and saying, no, you don't understand this, and it was really where, to some degree, fandom was born. Because people started getting possessive over, a particular literary type, like a superhero or science fiction, which became science fiction, because the fans said science fiction isn't a good word for what it is. So, and in the same way that fans really took off, helped make the internet a viable thing, because they were talking about, whatever, was it any cool news, whether they were talking about movies, or if they're talking about, comic books or literature or whatever. It was certainly this give and take. It was like, they talk about Web 2.0 now being this conversation medium, but it was pulps were definitely pulp 2.0 of its time. I've talked to comedy shows, and I've talked to I'm going to be talking to like a high school podcast group, and I just love the whole homebrew nature of it. But the fact that the high school kids can reach as many people as anybody putting anything up on the web, millions of people, conceivably, but hundreds or tens, and the point is that it's I've been able to talk to people who are really interested, like people who have a vested interest in literature or comic books, and really want to hear about this, as opposed to just another like NPR piece. Nothing against NPR, but you know what I mean. It's really people who are passionate about this stuff, and because of their passion, they're able to talk to other people about it and introduce me to them. So I really appreciate all the help I've been getting from the blogosphere. I mean, it's just been amazing. So.